So let me ask you this that was brought up to me yesterday. Shout out to my boy Fred Purdue, former podcast co-host of mine. We still talk Canes and everything. And so, as you watched last year, Mark, what would you, without having seen the numbers, and I went through the box scores to verify this because this is what was brought to me. Would you think that Miami was more of a quick strike offense, as in scoring in 5 plays or fewer, or were they more methodical, as in more drives of higher numbers of plays, like 8 or more?
I would say, based on just kind of cycling through what I remember of scoring plays for Miami, that they were the drives were more elongated, numbers of plays.
And okay. And then, is that a good thing for Miami? Is that a bad thing for Miami? How do you think? Yeah, is that good or bad, or what's your read on that thought of Miami being a team that has more methodical drives than home runs?
Well, the best offenses have the ability to do both.
There's going to be a measure of both, of course.
Yeah, there's going to be, even the worst offense in college football did something in both categories at some point. Mm-hmm. But it's difficult to drive 15 plays, 80 yards. That's just difficult to do. It's impressive. It's beneficial to your defense, the time on the clock, based depending on game situation. Mm-hmm. There's so many, you're enforcing your will along the line of scrimmage. It's just impressive for a lot of reasons, but it's difficult to do. You certainly want the capability to be able to put points up quickly in case you're behind, number one. And number two, just again, it's you hit for 75 yards on one play, then you erased all those things that you would have to repeatedly do well. Not miss blocks, not commit a penalty, not drop a pass, and be able to do that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you've commented that some of the offenses of the last 6 or 7 years were a little too heavy on the, that there was ability there to get the quick strike, the big play, but there was little consistency in mounting drives, and there weren't enough big plays to put up 35 or 42 points. It was in the low to mid 20s, and there just wasn't enough of it. And that's all there was.
Right. That, and I also wanted just to run at a faster tempo, quicker to the line sometimes as well. But yeah, so it's funny because Fred had the opposite thought, that Miami was all big plays and no drives, basically.
Well, he would know better than me.
Here. So I just looked at the 8 games that Tyler Van Dyke started last year. And in those games, there were 26 scoring drives of 7 plays or fewer. So that would be your fast, quick drives. And in there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jesus, we scored quickly at Pittsburgh, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of those 26 drives were 5 plays or fewer. So yeah, there were definitely some home runs, especially as the season wore on with him. But there were 23 drives of 8 plays or more, including half of that being 10 plays or more. So, it was. But yeah, Fred was very they were all home run. And when you think about the big games, right? Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Duke, right? That was the lion's share of the quick scores of that list, because that's really when Tyler Van Dyke got it going. He's, heating up and everything. But along that same path, we scored 1 million points at Duke. So there were, 6 drives of 8 plays or more in that game alone, Yeah, so long drives and everything. But it was just interesting as a point of conversation just to see, okay, what do we think? What do we think that the DNA of this offense was? What do we think that the DNA of this offense is going to be? What do we think that, we're going to try to do? Are we going to go, pace and space and try to hit them for 75 every time? I mean, like, obviously you want to score as much, but like you can scheme that more than, some other things. So it was just kind of an interesting conversation to see how that, if you work, you have the ends in mind first and say, okay, this is the methodology to score. Now build me the team that would use that methodology consistently. So I thought it was an interesting point of conversation. Maybe the audience does or doesn't, but
it is, and it sounds like it was balanced, 26 and 23.
Yeah.
So they were able to do both.
Yeah, but I will say that it was inverted as to when. Because early in the season, it was more long drives than short. But especially as the year went on, those last 4 games, it was way more short drives than long, even with the Duke game included in there that had 6 of them in and of itself. But it was basically just because Duke couldn't stop, you and me from scoring. So, there was just a million of both in that game. But yeah.
See, I would say there's nothing negative about being able to score in 2 or 3 plays. What are you supposed to do? Tell your wide receivers, lay down at the 10-yard line and don't score. That's showing explosiveness and ability for either the offensive line just to open up a lane that's big enough to drive a Mack truck through, or that you got a receiver that's just crazy, can just take the top off a defense, or do it after the catch, make 3 guys miss in the open. You've got all those components, a quarterback with a big arm that can do it. So there's no negative to that, except for if it's inconsistent.
And that's what I was going to say.
Inconsistent. So that's their MO, but it's not consistent enough. There's still 21 points a game and they're all on big plays, but they don't do it consistent enough.
Explosiveness is very important, but yeah, Mark said it exactly right. You do have to have consistency as well. So sometimes I need 4 yards on 2nd and 3 just to flip the chains and whatnot. That would be a consistency kind of a thing. But I agree completely.
Yeah, we've all seen teams that have quarterbacks that go 21 of 40 for 320 and a couple touchdowns and a couple picks, and it's like, yeah, the highlight reel looked good, but if you watched the entire game, they only scored 24 points, and he looked great at times, but not at other times.